Hello there, and welcome to this live episode of Rantz. It's only be a short one, really. It seems to be breaking news, well, gathering news, one could say, that Spurs are about to appoint their manager after around about 51 days of 51 days of without having a manager. That's a Premier League record as it stands, and looks like we might be appointing one. It's going to be the former Roma manager, who, of course, resigned at the end of this season. It was Paulo Fonseca, um, who did pretty well at Roma, really. Well, especially last season, where he guided them to fifth in the league in Serie A. Looks like he's going to be taking over from Jose Mourinho on the full-time basis. It's not been announced yet, but it looks like it's going to be announced soon. The story is all over Twitter as it stands, and basically looks like it's going to be a done deal. I might even stick my neck out and say that I imagine it will be announced within the next 48 hours. It's kind of a strange one, really, because I even said on the group, if you see see the post where we talked about Paulo Fonseca about a couple of weeks ago, or not a couple of weeks ago, it must have been about a week ago, where I was basically saying that yeah, he's done a good job at Roma. Um, he guided them last season, was it to fifth, and he also won the trophy there as well. So he's got a few honors with him. No, he hasn't won a trophy with Roma. I think he only guided them to fifth and a semi final of the European tournament. So they've done okay. It was the Europa League actually last season. Then he announces his resignation in May, at the end of May. So he was available, and it's interesting really because there's been this whole period has been dominated by the talks of bringing in Antonio Conte. Um, Especially after he left Inter Milan in such a good shape, winning the league there after 10 year gap, and he decided to leave Inter because obviously Inter are going to go through some financial troubles as they're trying to recoup the money that I guess their parent company will be losing. So I guess that's always going to be an issue. Um, but and we chased him fairly hard and seemed to pull out of the tour because of what we consider to be exorbitant transfer requests, and also the fact he wasn't really willing to look into his playing staff, his coaching staff, and see if there's a way of reducing the numbers that he has there. I'm thinking that if those were really sticking points. I don't know if we're actually that serious about getting him, which does stick in my craw. Is he is a natural born winner, but it looks like we have turned. Looks like we have returned our attentions to Paulo Fonseca, and since bringing in the new uh, director of football, I'll say bringing in, it hasn't been officially announced yet. Um, uh, Paratici, who obviously was a director of football at Juventus, and looks like we managed to convince him to come along, but he hasn't been announced either fully, and so it's all kind of up in the air. All this, um, so Paratici is not announced as a director of football, and Paulo Fonseca has not been announced as the manager, but it looks like both will be happening, and but so that's kind of like where we are at this point in time. Is just pretty much everything's up in the air, but it seems true, and yet nothing has been finalized. So what it looks like, um, this is how it looks to me. That we've gone and looked for a director of football, and to take the burden off Steve Hitchen, he's been given another role as um, director of football excellence, I think it was, and Fabio Fabio Paratici is going to come in, and his title is going to be general manager, which is well, seems like it's a bit more all encompassing than a director of football. So we'll wait to see how what that entails, but that hasn't been announced fully yet. But before that's been announced, also has been given the task of selecting the players that he wants to bring in, and also the manager he wants to bring in. So it looks like Daniel Levy's given complete um, reign of the footballing side, and I guess Steve Hitchen will be taking care of the technical side. It'll be interesting to see how this all works, really. So also go Fabio Paratici. Um, his first task was to look for a manager, and it looks like, and this is coming from sources like Fabrizio Romano. So it is a tier one kind of source, and he's saying that Paulo Fonseca is going to be Paratici's main main candidate. That's the one he wants to bring in. Um, so we shall see. I mean, I'm trying to think who the director of the was at Roma, at Roma that Paulo Fonseca worked under. I want to say Baldini, but I don't think it is. Is it Baldini? Is it? Maybe someone can let me know if you've seen that. And and basically, it looks like this could be the done deal. It looks like it's all going to be announced within the next um, 24 to 48 hours. So we shall see. So we shall see. And it's very rare that Romano gets these kind of things wrong. So we shall see. It looks like it's going to be a done deal, and we shall see how that all pans out. Um, so a bit more about Paulo Fonseca. I remember saying in the group that I wouldn't mind seeing another high-profile African coming in. Obviously, tongue in cheek. That's because of Paulo Fonseca was born in Mozambique in '74. Quite a distinguished, uh, I'll say distinguished playing career. He spent all his career in Portugal. Started off at Bayernse, uh, so Barreirense in 1991 as a kid. Then moved on to Porto. Spent 3 years there. But I'll say he spent 3 years there. He hardly played. Uh, Between '95 and '98, he was on loan for the most part for the most part, uh, where he played for Lesha, Bolnenge, and Maritimo. And then yeah, so he hasn't really had a glittering career as such. The Paulo Fonseca uh, signed for Vitória Guimarães in '98, and then 2 years later played for Estrela Amadora. And then that's where his at the end of his career, that's when his managerial career took off. Um, his most important appointment, you could say, when he was hmm, manager of Roma. Really, he had three before that. He had a 3 year stint at Shakhtar Donetsk in Ukraine, and did very well there. Really, he spent 3 years there, and well, he won the double there at Shakhtar Donetsk. Um, so so yeah, so he's done well there. Took them to the Champions League and did very well, finishing second in their group at one point behind Manchester City. in the 2017-2018 edition. Even beat Manchester City on that occasion, and they got through. And then he went to Roma in 2019. He got the side to finish fifth in Serie A in his first season, and then in the subsequent season, they got as far as the semi-finals of the Europa League. So you could say that they've done that. He's slowly building teams up. Um, so he has won trophies. He has won trophies, especially at Shakhtar Donetsk. Um, so I guess he doesn't know how to kind of get teams to a position where they're fighting for trophies. And so you got to say that maybe he's very good at developing squads, and this is where Paratici sees something in him. And you kind of think that if he's Paratici's choice, then maybe there is something in that. Um, Obviously, as you would have seen in the group, I wanted a proven winner in Antonio Conte, and obviously that didn't happen. So I guess this will have to be the next best thing. I wouldn't say that I'm underwhelmed by it, but I would say that it's kind of it's an appointment that doesn't scream immediate success. But then you look at Paratici and what he's done at Juventus in terms of bringing in the well, a few free transfers, but a lot of decent players for cheap and working them to get sold on later, and also some convincing important players to come over. Um, and when I say important players like Paul Pogba, Carlos Tevez, um, or those kind of players really, and convincing them to come over, especially in the latter years of their careers, and see something in them that the coach will be able to bring something out of. So I know that Daniel Levy was interested in getting a manager who would look into bringing through a lot of the youth players. That's one of the stipulations he made um, uh, during the talks of the Conte, which obviously Conte uh, can't well, he wouldn't be able to hold on to because he's more of a manager who would like to try and build for the now and win trophies now. This also is going to be another project, and I guess that's where people are going to look at it and say, well, then that doesn't mean that Harry Kane is going to stay or is going to leave. That I can't really answer. I can't really answer that one at all. Um, you would have to say that, well, especially for fans who are interested in Harry Kane, you have to say that for Harry Kane, who's been through two projects already, would he be would he be happy to go through a third project? Would he want to? And you have to come and think, possibly not. Possibly not. He probably wants to start winning things now because we went through a largest project, a 5 year project under Pochettino, and that kind of ended in failure. I have to say it ended in failure in the end. Got to a League Cup final, failed in that. Got to a Champions League final, failed in that. Got to an FA Cup semi-final, failed in that. So got to two challenge for the league twice. The first season, you can say that no, we weren't really challenging. Second season, we blew it big time, so we failed in that. So I guess this has to be seen as another project. Of course, just seen a message come through there. Fonseca plays attractive football, wins. There's one title as Shakhtar, as I said, Shakhtar Donetsk, and doing the double, as I mentioned. Uh, and then, yeah, everything I mentioned there, exactly that. So Fonseca does come with a pedigree of winning trophies, and yeah, I know it'll be derided as it is just the Ukrainian league, but you have to. I mean, not everybody wins the Ukrainian league. If it was that easy, then it'll be teams coming through and doing and just winning it. Be like a new winner every season. So he does have a bit of pedigree. That's what I'm trying to say. At Roma, you have to kind of wonder what happened in that one, really, because Obviously, he was only there for a couple of years. The first season, he finished fifth in the league, and the second season, he finished seventh, I think. Um, and and also the second season, they got to the semi-final of the Europa League. So is that stat I didn't actually know. That is 112, 102 games managing Roma, and only lost 27 games. So yeah, the man does come. The way I see it, the man does come with pedigree, and you have to kind of say that yeah, he's got the how do I put it? He's got the manager that comes ready made, I guess, to win the title straight off. Obviously, as you can see in his career, his biggest his biggest jobs have come latterly. Before that, he was working his way up in the lower leagues of Portugal, and only staying for a season at a time. Notably, when he was manager of Passos Ferreira on two occasions, each time for only a season. So the only time he stayed for a long time, you'd say was at Shakhtar Donetsk, and in that time, won the double, um, and reached the last 16 of the Champions League. So I guess when he's put down roots, and I guess when he has the backing of the club, and also the backing of the I guess it'll be general manager in our case. That's a title that Fabio Patrizzi is going to have. If once he sorry, Paratici, sorry. Once he has that backing, and who knows what could happen? Who knows what could happen? And so there's last 5 years, Shakhtar Donetsk and Roma. I've seen them win the double in Ukraine and get as far as the semi-final of the Europa League, and that's nothing to be sniffed at. Remember, we got bombed down in the Europa League in an embarrassing fashion, losing a 2-0 lead in the round of 32. So can't really complain about a man who gets his team as far as the semi-finals when we can't even get past the opening knockout stage. So we shall see. I mean, yeah, there would have been many that, like me, who would have wanted Antonio Conte because he showed an interest in wanting to take this club on his own potential in it, and also wanted a bit of additional funds to try and make us get into that level of serial winner. There are some that didn't. They prefer to have Pochettino back, which was never going to happen. Never going to happen. So we just got to waste our time there talking about something that we weren't even really in the presence of doing. The thing, this is to talk about Pochettino here. That basically our team talked to his team, and we all agreed something. There's not even sure what's been agreed. Only a 5 year. Oh, 1 second while I take a sip of water. Durban says, "Croaky throat." Agreed. Like a 3 year term, I think it was, and that obviously he's there with Paris Saint Germain. He's only been there 6 months. He's locked down in the contract. Paris Saint Germain extended that contract. So, um, but the thing is, we never put in a formal bid for him. We never went to Paris Saint Germain and said we want Pochettino. Let's buy out his contract. We never did that. What we were uh, what we were hoping for is that Maurizio Pochettino will make a public declaration. So, for example, put it out there that he's spoken to the club and he wants to be released. Those are the sound bites coming out, but he never made that public himself, or to actually resign from Paris Saint Germain. And if anyone knows anything about Mauricio Pochettino, he's never walked away from any of his jobs. So why would people assume he would have done that at Paris Saint Germain? He's never walked away. Well, I say he's never walked away. I should say he's never walked away without a good reason for walking away. So that being basically uh, he's not undermined at the club. If he's got the backing of the club, then he stays. If he doesn't, then he'll leave. I think it's got Paris Saint-Germain is his fourth managerial job. His first one was at Espanyol, where he developed the youth and kept producing gems after gems after gems, which the club kept selling under his feet. He got sacked from that one because they finished fairly low on the avoided relegation. I think that was his fault. They sacked him, and then obviously went to Southampton. Stuff went on beyond his back there, and he resigned. I think he had a major falling out with the I've forgotten her name now. Major falling out there with the director of football there, and that was going to affect his job. I think one of his men was sacked from underneath him, and so he left. He came to Spurs, and we all know what he did at Spurs. And then obviously was sacked when we finished as low as 14th. Well, started off as low as 14th, didn't finish. Started off as low as 14th. And then now he's at Paris Saint Germain. He's already won 2 trophies in the 6-month spell. So he was never going to leave the club. Only if Paris Saint Germain sacked him, and they were happy with him. So they were so happy with him they triggered a clause in his contract, which and they extended the stay for a year. So it was never going to happen. Just had a comment there from SH. Thanks for commenting there, mate. This is about Paulo Fonseca. Had an 8-game win streak at Roma last season, and even beat Juventus 3-1. And so he knows. So basically, what it says that shows to me is that he knows how to galvanize teams or get teams in their heads to know that they can beat the best, they can play the best and beat the best. And one thing that we have shown, especially last season and the season before that, is that we have players now that really don't care at all. And we see that, especially in the big games where they just don't show up. And if the rumors are true that some of the players messaged Daniel Levy about the idea of Antonio Conte coming and expressing their disapproval, that kind of shows that we have players that think that they rule the roost. We have players think that they actually run this club, and they've been allowed to feel that in the last 18 months to 2 years, or even longer, 3 years mostly. So it is kind of imperative that we get a manager in now that knows how to kind of cement his authority at the club, and that's what we need. That's what we really need. And if Fonseca can command that kind of respect, we're kind of hoping that it does. That's a good question right there. We think his playing style would suit Spurs. Well, basically, the best way to answer that is that we have needed a rebuild for nearly 4 years now. We have needed a rebuild. We needed to like I said before, especially in the group, there are about 10 players I would happily discard, and I'd happily say goodbye. Thanks for the memories, and it's time to go. I'll happily say that. And I'm thinking that with the idea of bringing in Fabio Baratici, the idea behind that is that he knows how to. I'm not going to use it. I was not going to use the term wheel a deal, but he's much more shrewd than that. He's much more clever than that. But he can bring in players. He can ship off a lot of players, and that you'll leave it with like this one. Ship off okay players for a lot of profit as well. For example, you got Paul Pogba came to he brought into Juventus for a free transfer, and sold him to Manchester United for 90 million. So He can. He has that kind of track record there, Paratici. That's who he's given. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how much of I don't know how much power he had over the finances, but I imagine that he has some kind of sway in that case because of literally by the sounds of the deals that were happening at Juventus during this time. So I'm kind of thinking that he must have some kind of sway. So if he was to come, I think that he would look to ship out a lot of the players that need to go. And I'm hoping that there are a lot of players there I don't want to ever see in a Spurs shirt again, especially because I've had to endure their poor performances over and over for the last 3 and a bit years, 3 and a bit seasons. And and so I'm thinking that it'll be a case of not him suiting our style, but us molding a style that would help Fonseca generate a kind of team morale, um, uh, team mentality that we need to actually step up a bit. But I'm just kind of worried that this is going to be more of a rebuild than it is in terms of just trying to fix or get back to an issue, get back to a situation that we had a couple of seasons ago. This is going to be more in depth than that. So it is all a case of whether he can get the backing that is needed. But I'm imagining that if Paratici has been given the title of general manager, that he is going to get the backing. Otherwise, there is no point in bringing him in. But it sounds of it, Levy wants to take more of a backseat role, especially when it comes to footballing matters, and that's where the general manager comes in. And so I imagine that it'll be Paratici and his team that will handle the negotiations. And then once we can get once he's finalised that, maybe that's where Levy comes in and is like, okay, this is what we've agreed. Can we have the funds? And yeah, I can see an issue with that. Okay, so so that question there by SH, I hope he not question that's a comment. I think it can be financially backed. That still kind of rings true in a way because I can see where Paratici would do so much. His team will do so much, and then it'll get to a level there where it's like asking for the money men to say, okay, we've agreed this, release the funds for this, and they can still have the veto, and that's how it sounds. I don't think there's been any kind of change. The only change is that the board here are not involved in the rest of that, but they are still there. And so Paratici and his team will just come up there and they still have to ask. So I can still see a lot of issues with that. Comment there from Michael Hamilton, as you know, is one of the group's admins. Fans crying out for a director of football. We get a director of football. He gets the man he wants. Now fans are mad because he wasn't the sexy manager they wanted. Fonseca might be the right fit for us. You never know. And that's essentially true. That is essentially true. I mean, in my case, it's a case of especially when we heard the news for the whole week, we're in talks with a manager like Antonio Conte, a manager with the caliber of Antonio Conte, uh, a manager with the kind of winning mentality like Antonio Conte, and we told him for a long time, and it was so clear that, especially when we were squabbling over the fact he wanted to bring seven seven of what did it? His entourage included 7 coaches. We want to try and whittle it down to 4. That's when you kind of knew that we weren't interested in, weren't really serious. And I have no idea why we entered into talks with him if we were not serious. But there we go. Fonseca is not a bad manager. And that's the thing. He's not a bad manager at all, especially when you look at his last 5 years of coaching. And I don't care where you win trophies. He's won the double at Shakhtar Donetsk. Even Jose Mourinho won the double at Porto, and people will be crying about that, saying that is not a big league. But then, with that Porto team, after winning the double at home, he then wins the Champions League. So that kind of says a lot. Um, Obviously, it'll be a little bit more difficult at Shakhtar Donetsk at that time, especially with the issues that they were having in the last 5 years in terms of the war going on over there, and in terms uh, of the players not actually playing in Donetsk. They actually had to fly out to I can't remember which city they had to fly out to in Ukraine to play their home games because obviously that area is cordoned off. The whole Donetsk region is cordoned off because of the war. So they did very well to win the double there, and even to do well in the Champions League. So you have to look at it in the context of what they were having to go through. And then at Roma, I really remember the name of the director of football there. I want to say Franco Baldini, but it can't be. Is it Franco Baldini at Roma now? Possible. I've no idea, but that's his director of football there, um, and he's there for 2 years, 2 seasons. First season they finished fifth in Serie A, and then the second season they finished seventh in Serie A, but to get as far as the semi-final of the Europa League. And I know that Mourinho's taken over there, so that's kind of where they are at the moment, and that's what he's done there. So you kind of think that maybe he does kind of have the pedigree. Maybe he does, but well, I was going to say pedigree. I mean, he has the ability to get teams to mold teams in his image and get them challenging. And if he can do that in 2 seasons at Roma, and considering what he did 3 seasons at Shakhtar Donetsk, and if he has the backing, well, he has the eyes of Baratice looking out and spotting the talent, bringing them in, and then getting the head coach, because that's what it will be if Baratice is going to be the general manager. Fonseca will be the head coach. And they can get those two, they can mesh together and actually um, get this working. You have to hold out hope, really. But for the fans that are worrying about Harry Kane, well, it doesn't matter if he's upset about that or not. The fact is that he's under contract for 3 seasons. I'm going to be a hard ass. He's under contract for another 3 seasons. So and we're going to ask for 150 million pounds for him. There's only one club that's got the ability to, or two clubs that have the ability to spend that, and one of those clubs will be ruled out because he doesn't want to go abroad. The other clubs are not going to. The other clubs that are interested, one I doubt will be able to afford it. Not that much anyway. And the other one is a rival that he would never go to because we don't do that. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's just been kind of news that's kind of filtered through over the last hour or so, last 90 minutes or so, and so this is this is what we kind of cobbled together really, and the story is brought from Fabrizio Romano, and these are usually a very reliable source. And then it came on Sky, and I kind of thought, okay, maybe there is some legs in it. We shall see, and yeah, well, some of us were holding out hope for Conte, but I mean, I'm talking about the realistic managers, obviously. So I'm holding up for Ten Hag, Eric Ten Hag of Ajax, who's in a similar situation to Pochettino, and where that is only there for a short time. Then Ajax triggered a clause in his contract, which meant that he had another 18 months on there. So so yeah, that was always going to be interesting. And then let's look at the YouTube video of Fonseca's tactical formation at Roma, 3-4-3. But it sounds a bit very similar to the way that Conte was set up. Could do, could do. There might be. I mean, I suppose. I mean, it all depends if we're going to refer. We are going to refer to Fonseca as Conte light. I just probably stick in the prawn many really because that just means we've gone for the cheap option again. As many people like to say, but I do think that'll be a disrespect to Paulo Fonseca. He looks like he's a good manager on his off his own back. You know what I mean? And it looks like he can get teams playing, and it looks like he can get players motivated, um, as referenced by one of our contributors, say that had an 8-game winning streak. I mean, I would love just to see us put together a streak like that again. But we need the players that have the right mentality in order to do it. And this is where I'm kind of hoping that the whole system of director of football and, well, not director of football, it'll be general manager, that's his new title there, and then head coach. Hopefully that's a kind of they'll work well together, and they'll be able to bring through the good players, and probably and smattering the best players as well to Spurs, and get us playing well. That's literally all I can hope for at this point in time. But it looks like Paulo Fonseca is going to be announced in the next 48 hours as the new Spurs head coach, alongside Fabio Paratici, because we have to remember he's still not been announced, so that's still kind of up in the air. But let me know, what do you think? Leave your comments at the bottom. Good appointment, and if not, what realistic targets do you think we should have gone for? And I mean, well, all we could go by is the ones that we were rumored to get. I wouldn't hold up. I wouldn't say Pochettino. I wouldn't say Ten Hag, because if we weren't going to get Conte, who's essentially on a free, there was no way we're going to pay an inflated price for Pochettino or an inflated price for Ten Hag. And the fact that we didn't really speak to Pochettino, we just kind of relied on him making a public declaration. We weren't serious in getting him either. So, you know, I guess we actually just have to see. And then when he's appointed, it should be an interesting one. It's going to be one hell of a ride, that's for sure. So yeah, let us know. Leave your comments at the bottom. Let me know what you think. Will Pochettino, would Paulo Fonseca be a good fit? We shall see. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for those who have tuned in, and thanks for the comments as well. It's been good to see what you guys kind of think, and yeah, we shall see in the next 48 hours. Might be announced this weekend before the start of the Euros. Let's see what happens. But it looks like Paulo Fonseca is going to be announced as the manager of Spurs, alongside Fabio Paratici as the general manager of Spurs. Let's see how it all unfolds. But thanks for watching, and remember to join our discussion group if you haven't as yet. And for those in the discussion group, join our social media on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, of course, as you're on here. And yep, you all take care. And yes, we shall see you next 48 hours. Come on, you Spurs. You all take care.